Hey everyone, this is Ethan. Before I get started on the Saints, a couple of huge announcements. First of all, I am, after this video, going to be re-recording two videos. The Detroit Lions and the Miami Dolphins. First of all, with a little bit of updated information, because some of the stuff that I said is a little bit outdated at this point. Also because the sync was really screwed up in terms of the voices as opposed to my facial expressions in the videos. And the reason why I'm retaping that is because the videos are now going to be hosted on a draft website, scardraft.com. Happily, the deal was finalized last night, so I'll continue to finish the series, and then I'll also be staying on as sort of a feature person on that website. So everyone should check it out if you have not already. It's a great website. The guy who runs it is awesome. Do great analysis. I will be contributing a lot of stuff to them, so it's all good. Sorry if I don't sound so good. I'm a little bit sick still, but we're going to move past it and talk about the Nolans Saints. So, looking at the Saints, I think I pronounced it right, Nolans. I'm terrible at that kind of stuff. So sorry, New Orleans fans, but there I did the northerner pronunciation. Looking at the Saints, I honestly don't have that much to say about them. They're an interesting team. They draft very well. They definitely have their own style when it comes to things. And they're a little bit more unexpected than a lot of other teams in the draft. I had some trouble disseminating the information, figuring out what I should give them. There are a couple of things I want to talk about their defensive scheme, which I actually referred to in the second video of my series when I talked about Curtis Allen going to Denver. And their 4-3 scheme is definitely a bit different from the typical scheme that you envision. They like bigger defensive ends. We talked about Will Smith and Charles Grant. They will take those guys who sort of are fringe 4-3 even defensive tackles. These huge players who can not only get pushed but also can hold their own against the run, and they'll put them on defensive end. And luckily in this draft, there is a plethora of guys who can fill that role, and they need one opposite Will Smith because Alex Brown isn't very good. In terms of defensive tackles, they definitely like bigger guys who hover around 310, 315, can hold their own at the point of attack. Just big bodies up there. Guys who might even be considered 3-4 defensive ends in many schemes. And they love rangy linebackers to have behind them. Their big defensive line shields the little guys like Jonathan Vilma, who can then run around, shoot gaps, make tackles, and make plays. So, I think that the front seven was definitely the weakness of New Orleans this past year, and they need a lot of help in order to solidify the front seven. And I'm going to apologize again. This lighting sucks. I'm sorry. I look really pale. So, looking at their draft picks, the one guy who keeps coming to mind as an obvious type of pick, and I can't decide whether or not this is because the hype around him was so huge or because he honestly would be the best pick, is Adrian Claiborne out of Iowa. And there are definitely some questions that surround Claiborne regarding his Erb's palsy, which has affected his arm strength over the years. The Iowa program's under a bit of a cloud right now in terms of just a lot of little things going on there, which are not good. A bunch of players getting arrested, a bunch of players going to the hospital at the end of spring practice. There's some weird stuff going on in Iowa. So, and Adrian Claiborne was very underwhelming this past year compared to his sensational junior season. He was a lot better as a junior than a senior. But then on the other hand, he fits the scheme perfectly. Stout defensive end, holds on the point, can also get up against the passer. He's a 3-down player, and he seems like the kind of guy who would be perfect for them. But then I keep thinking about Christian Ballard, his teammate at Iowa, who's probably more athletic than Claiborne and could go higher than his teammate in the draft. Would not surprise me at all. Guys like Alan Bailey, who I think might be better getting away from putting his hand down the line, but that doesn't mean that a team won't take him. I think that even on the defensive line moving inside, tackles like Muhammad Wilkerson or Phil Taylor or even Stephen Paella, big bodies who can gap and hold their own point of attack could be possible picks for New Orleans. And then outside linebacker, Akeem Ayers, kind of guy who can help get pressure, can drop back into coverage. Really reminds me of Brian Cushing when I watch him play. So they definitely have a lot of options, do the Saints. I think that if I had to pick one person at this very second, gun to my head, to give to them, it would be Christian Ballard. I just have a feeling on this one. I think that they would value him a little bit higher than Claiborne because Claiborne has the injury issues and Ballard is a little bit more athletic, and they've shown a willingness to take very athletic-oriented guys at the position before. Last year, of course, Patrick Robinson at cornerback. Devin McCourty was apparently the guy right above him on their board, and they decided to take Robinson over Kyle Wilson, even though Kyle Wilson wasn't there, because of Robinson's athletic attributes. And, I mean, other people who have taken in the past have sort of showcased that same mantra. So, I think that would be my pick at the moment for them. However, there is a wild card, and that's Justin Houston out of Georgia. And a lot of Falcons fans really want Justin Houston to fall to their pick. I could see it happening, but he was not expected to go this low in the draft by many people. But I think his stock is falling a little bit. He doesn't have the versatility to play in a 3-4 outside linebacker scheme unless it's a Fairbanks 3-4, which means sort of like what the Patriots play, where he gets upfield. His first responsibility is to contain the run and set the edge against running plays, and then his secondary responsibility is to come at the passer. He can't play in a more free-flowing scheme. There are just better prospects there who can play in a more free-flowing 3-4 like what Green Bay plays or like what Pittsburgh even plays. He's just not the right fit for many 3-4 defenses. I can only think of 2 or 3 that play Fairbanks. And one of them actually just is in the process of switching, and that is Rob Ryan taking his Cleveland D to Dallas. And Dallas isn't going to take Justin Houston first with their first round pick. So I think he could slip. I do think he has value as a 3-4 defensive end, but when you put him in that group, I mean, he's behind Daquan Bowers, whose stock is slipping. He's going to cause everyone else's stock to slip at that position. Cameron Jordan, who I think could go higher than Daquan Bowers now. Robert Quinn, athletic freak at the position, who is just overall better and more versatile than Justin Houston. Aldon Smith, who I think has a very good chance of going higher than Quinn at this point, or Bowers. I think that he can go 11 to Houston, and I've been saying that for a while. So there's just a bunch of defensive ends who I think are better than Houston at this point and are going to go before him. He's going to start to slip, and I don't know if he gets best New Orleans at this pick. He seems like a really good fit for their system, and he has the dual ability to hold his own point of attack and then also get after the passer. So I think that he could be a really interesting pick if he slips this low in the draft. But we'll see what happens. I mean, right now, I guess if Houston goes earlier, like many expect him to, I'd probably make him the pick somewhere in the top 20 and have Christian Ballard at 24. If not, I think Houston could be a very viable pick for New Orleans. Poor Falcons fans. So, later in the draft, I'm just going to run through these because I'm running out of time. Rangy outside linebackers, tackles kick inside to guard. They like both of those. And late in the draft, maybe a tall, rangy wide receiver. Project type guy, sort of like Marcus Colson, who they took. Adrian Arrington fits that mold as well. Even he's not really tall and rangy, but a guy like Lance Moore, they took him late in the draft. They love getting wide receivers late, so it wouldn't surprise me if they get another one. And also safeties. It's a weak safety class, but they could definitely use one. So I wouldn't be surprised if they took a flyer. Tomorrow we'll talk about Seattle. Of course, everybody's favorite team, knocking off New Orleans, and why I think they might go with the quarterback in this draft. But stay tuned for tonight. Hopefully stuff will be going up on the Scar Draft site, all my videos, and I'm also going to be redoing Detroit and Miami right now. So I'll see y'all later, and sorry I'm a little bit tired and this is pale, but it's exciting stuff, so I'll talk to you later. Bye.